Hi, I'm the Moroccan Angel, and I'm here to help others set things right with their Maker. Hi, how are you today? I hope you're doing well. I want to talk about something, and it's a bit lengthy, so it might be a good idea to just, block out some time and hear me. Because this is I think, a very critical turning point or realization for those of you who are professing to be Christians and experiencing some things that are contradictory to your claim. This topic is surrounded by the recent news reports of Bishop Mar Mari Emmanuel. So let's jump into this. Religion is a very powerful force in the sense that it strongly influences perception and the emotions. This can be very dangerous, especially in the hands of those who recognize this, such as leaders and rulers over nations. And you can see this throughout history. Now, if you can influence someone or grip the heart with an ideology, let's say, to the point where you can strongly influence their heart to make decisions in your favor, this is powerful. And this tactic, like I said, has been used throughout history by men or rulers in the past to manipulate societies and control the mind. To the shocking, absolute extent of someone willing to give up their very life for the cause, for the belief in a religion or in a particular religion. Now, we know that religion is not only the belief in or reverence for supernatural power, but it's also a specific organized system of doctrine or practice outlining how to interact with that particular supernatural power. For instance, Christianity. Let's look at Christianity. If someone is trying to understand or consider interacting with the Spirit of Jesus, they'll study the New Testament scriptures in which Jesus laid out the guidelines for interacting with Him. And those who choose to submit to Jesus as a God and serve Him, well, they would proceed in adhering to the practices or religious practices outlined based on Jesus' teachings and commands. Now, there are many, many people who have chosen to die for their religious beliefs. It's not just Christians. But let's be clear. The willingness to die for what you believe in does not validate your belief as true. It just means that you're in a state of mind such that you value a religious belief or cause more than you value the life the Creator gave you. Now, quote unquote Christians believe, and I use quotations because sadly, a great number are claiming to be Christians and convinced that they are. But when their lives and thoughts are placed in the light of the scriptures, they're not biblically defined Christians. And they'll recklessly go out and give up their lives in vain, fighting for something that they're not even genuinely a part of. And a great deal is due to ignorance in the literal sense of the word, not fully understanding the heart of Christianity and the true message and teachings of Jesus. Now, I try not to call these things out in the comments, but if you simply look and observe, it is the quote unquote Christians, the very ones who profess to have the Spirit of Jesus, that are insulting, rude, foul mouthed, and offensive. And why? Because something that is being said offends or contradicts their understanding of the New Testament scriptures. And mind you, these same individuals are laying up with someone else's husband or wife, watching pornography, smoking weed for peace or medicinal purposes, of course, or some other mind-altering substance. They're either suffering from anxiety, depression, or some other mental torment. And what's more concerning is that they are still in bondage to sin and proudly proclaim so. This is very telling because it indicates that they are operating from a place of intense emotions that are carnally based and not spiritually based. That's a problem. You see, these individuals, they're claiming to have the literal spirit of Jesus, and they don't. It's generally the uneducated, the unlearned, and the ill-mannered who become enraged, violent, insulting, and what have you, when they encounter someone who seemingly contradicts their beliefs. It takes an enlightened mind that possesses the ability to connect and peacefully, respectfully discuss the issue. And based upon the facts of reality and what is presented, they both have the goal of establishing the truth. The truth, you see, the truth is not established based upon your emotions or your beliefs or because you said it to be so. You must look at and examine the baseline of the facts, wherever or whatever that may be. In this case, the facts are what is literally written within the scriptures. The educated and the wise of heart seek this out. It is the uneducated and the foolish who argue and hurl insults and demonstrate degrading behavior. And why? Because it comes from a place of emotions. It's not spiritual. And I'm specifically referencing the quote-unquote professing Christian. Now, the New Testament scriptures makes a clear note of this in the book of James, chapter 3, verses 13 through 18. And I'm going to read that to you. It says, "Who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? Let him show, out of a good conversation, his works with meekness and wisdom. But if you have bitter envy and strife in your hearts, glory not, and lie not against the truth. This wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, and devilish. For where envying and strife is, there is confusion and every evil work." Huh. This sounds like the modern church. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality, and without, interestingly, hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is claiming or pretending to be something you're not. Think of that. People who are claiming to be Christians, which is like, I mean, seriously. By the sheer definition of the word Christian, which is a steadfast follower or obeyer of the teachings and commands of Jesus, calling themselves a follower, steadfastly adhering to the teachings of Jesus, and they're not, that's hypocrisy. And the scripture further reads, "And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace." And see, here's the thing. These very individuals are offensively disagreeable as they judge what is being said across their own radar. And this is a problem. They can't judge properly what is being said. They can't detect the truth of Jesus' message or teachings. Why? Because according to the New Testament scriptures, they're operating in a state of flesh, the carnal mind, which is clearly demonstrated in the way they're communicating. And I'm certain that this is not the only way that this is demonstrated or revealed. But Jesus said that from the heart floweth these indicators. And the speech is just one of these indicators of the nature of the heart of such a person. Of course, a hypocrite cannot veil 100% their speech because it's going to be revealed. And it will also show in their acts. The mind or their speech is something that reveals that they still have a carnal mind and that they're operating in the state of flesh. They're sinners. In other words, they're still in bondage to sin. They're claiming to be a Christian and a sinner at the same time. It's an oxymoron. It's a red flag. You can't obey or you can't follow and not follow Jesus at the same time. It's nonsense. But this type of individual will argue it into the grave. But what can you do? And so, what are the New Testament facts surrounding the sinner? This person claiming to be a Christian, but they're a sinner. Well, first, he or she is still in bondage to sin. And secondly, they're operating in the flesh. It is the carnal mind. They are without question in a carnal state. And what do we scripturally know to be true or aligned with scriptural facts concerning the carnal mind? Well, in Romans chapter 8, verse 6, it states, "For to be carnally minded is death." That's one fact. A second fact, Romans 8 and 7, "The carnal mind is enmity against God. For it is not subject to the laws of God, neither indeed can be." Meaning they will operate in the flesh. They cannot. They can't steadfastly keep the laws of God. Another fact, verse 8, Romans 8 and 8. They cannot, like I just said, they cannot, those who are in the flesh cannot please God. And this is not by your standards, but His. Your standards you may think you're pleasing God by doing charitable acts, giving to the poor, what have you. Uh, this is not by your standards, but His. Those who are in the flesh cannot please God. Romans 8, verse 9, those who operate in the flesh at any point have not been biblically born again and do not possess the genuine Spirit of Christ. This is major. And lastly, the reason why they cannot, I repeat, cannot, they cannot rightfully discern the message of truth is because according to the New Testament scriptures, they are absolutely incapable of doing so. Wow. 1 Corinthians 2 and 14, it states, "But the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him." Catch this. "Neither can he know them." He cannot know them. He doesn't know them. Like, do you grasp what I'm saying? Oh my. Well, it's not me saying it. I'm reading the scriptures of what's the facts of what's literally written in the New Testament scriptures. They are spiritually discerned. Only the one that is spiritual can actually judge the truth, not the sinner, not the sinner falsely professing to be a Christian. They are incapable of even knowing the true teachings of Jesus, let alone teaching and instructing others. That takes a lot of nerve. Wow. Oh my. Come now. Let us reason this. Let's logically look at this. You're void of the Spirit of Jesus because you are literally rebelling against His teachings and commands. and you're arguing and insulting people in social media comments because you disagree and can't understand what someone who is spiritual has spoken to you? Oh my. It's preposterous. You would certainly be surprised at the number of individuals falsely professing to be Christians, teaching and speaking from a carnal emotional state and not by the true Spirit of Jesus. And this isn't just the Christian religion, because there's a number of religions where the leaders, they're in these men and women who are in positions of leadership, and they are absolute devils, hypocrites, playing on your emotions, on your weaknesses to make a profit or to gain some type of selfish greed or some type of selfish desire. And it's sad. I see it over and over and over again, and it literally breaks my heart. But you have these individuals who are arguing and fighting. Now, mind you, there are over 30,000 different Christian sects. Goodness. That alone is mind-blowing. And there's only one Jesus, one message that he taught. And it's written right there in black and white. I'm not sure why it's a problem. An education is required to study and learn the Christian religion. Spoiler alert. It does take an education. Well, these individuals are causing a ruckus online on social media platforms. It's quite evident when you observe their speech. It's flavored with filth, anger, foolishness, vulgarity, indecency, rudeness, you name it. And they're sinning. They're not even faithfully following Jesus. It's hypocrisy. Think of the deception. There's so much confusion, just like the scripture stated. Wow. Just like it's stated in James chapter 3, for where envying and strife is, there is confusion and every evil work. That's why I said it sounds like the modern church. Just observe. All you have to do is just look, just observe what's happening. So, if you're sinning and professing to be a Christian, you shouldn't even trust your own judgment concerning the teachings of Jesus, because you're still in bondage to sin, and you're operating in the flesh with a carnal mind. And it says clearly within the scriptures that you don't have the genuine Spirit of Jesus. Yes, I'm exposing some heavy, deep deception. The worst is when you're deceiving your own mind. And I've noted all of that to say this. Mar Mari Emmanuel stated in his teachings that he is in fact a sinner, the greatest of them all.
Amen. Every single human being cannot say, I never sinned, because we will lie through our teeth. Every one of us have sinned, and I am the greatest sinners of all, Bishop Mari. All of us are sinners. Amen.
This scripturally means, let's just take a moment and consider the facts written within the scriptures, what he's saying. This scripturally clearly states within the scriptures that he is in fact, scriptural fact, still in bondage to sin, according to Jesus himself. My question is, how are you going to die for Jesus? Because he stated this before, that, he has no problem with that. He wants to die. It would be a blessing to die and be with Jesus. And that's not even how that works, actually. But how are you going to die for Jesus and you can't even live for him? Jesus stated in the book of John, chapter 8, verse 34, hear me now. Jesus specifically said, "This is the truth." Now, he is the originator of the Christian religion. This is Christ speaking, not the Pope, not Mari, not me. Come now. This is Jesus. And he said, truly, like I'm saying this to you, believe me, whosoever committeth sin is the servant of sin. Now, this is deep, and you're going to see why in a minute. The original Greek word for servant is doulos, meaning a slave. Enslaved. You're still in bondage to sin. Mari has publicly admitted before thousands and thousands of quote-unquote professing Christians, and it just blew right over their head. He's admitting publicly that he is still in bondage to sin. Just take a moment. The implications of this is immense. Just take a moment and consider everything that we just discussed. Now, why? Why is Mari and so many others still in bondage to sin? Well, Jesus reveals why in the following verses. He said, "Because he did not choose to set you free." Verse 36. "If the Son therefore shall make you free, you shall be free indeed." Free, not bound, not the hope to be free, not struggling to be free, not the resolution to be free, not the process to be free, not pay tithes to a crooked pastor or leader to be free. No. When Jesus chooses to set you free, you shall literally, that's my word today, you shall be literally free, no longer in bondage to sin. Now, for a number of you, this may sound quite baffling because perhaps you don't understand what sin is, biblically defined sin. If you are currently in a state where you are, for those who are professing to be Christians, and you are trying to steadfastly adhere to the teachings of Jesus and obey his commands, but you keep slipping or missing the mark for whatever reason, or you have sinned since your vow to serve and follow Jesus as a Christian, and you've committed sin since that vow, well, according to the scriptures, you're not a biblically born again Christian. And that may be difficult to hear, but just really simple, blatant truth. Does it not say that those who genuinely possess the Spirit of Christ have the mind of Christ and walk as he walked? When did you ever read that Jesus struggled with sin? The scriptures are very clear that those who genuinely possess the Spirit of Jesus will do exactly as he did. And I guarantee you, there is nowhere in the scriptures where it says that Jesus walked dipping and dapping in and out of sin. There is nowhere in the scriptures that say Jesus was in bondage to sin. or that his mind was mentally tormented and in bondage to sickness and disease and addictions and depression and suicidal thoughts. It's not there. And there's a truth to be known for those of you who do not truly understand sin, and it appears that Mari doesn't either. That means you're a self-professed Christian, especially if you're still in bondage to sin. A self-professed Christian and not a Jesus-confirmed Christian, because I'll tell you this. Those who are still in bondage to sin, regardless of what you call yourself, the truth is, the biblical truth is that you don't genuinely possess the indwelling Spirit of Jesus, not as described within the scriptures. And we're told in the book of Romans chapter 8 and verse 9 that those who do not have the Spirit of Christ are none of his. There are a number of quote unquote Christians who will declare that they are willing to die for Jesus. But I ask you, listen to me. You're willing to die for Jesus, but you can't live for him? You can't die for him if you're not even living for him. It's a deception, regardless of how long it's been going on. In Matthew chapter 7, it describes individuals who were convinced throughout their entire life that they knew Jesus and that they would enter into heaven and be in his presence. And they probably did things that would be more convincing that they were friends of Jesus than the things you do now. But he rejected them. Why? Because his Spirit was not in them. And think about it. If you are still in bondage to sin, that reveals that you didn't hear the true message of Jesus. And you will certainly die in your sins. This is biblical facts. If you are seeking out the truth, to know the genuine, true message of Jesus without bias, without manipulation of the text, and you are willing to learn these things from me. I do teach a class called Biblical Christianity, where we cover the basics of Christianity, the origin and purpose of Christianity, the supernatural physical and spiritual impact of Jesus' death and resurrection, and the life of the genuine Christian. I cover biblical rebirth, providing details concerning sin and freedom from sin, and a number of other things that are absolutely necessary in making an informed choice concerning your soul and adherence to the Christian faith. If you'd like to be a part of the next upcoming class, click the link or visit my website and sign up. I'll see you there. I'm the Moroccan Angel. And remember, do what is right. Always. It matters.